Hi there. Welcome to Life Between Coasts, the podcast where we dive into our personal stories connected with synchronicity. So grab your coffee, light a candle, and let's begin. I'm your host, Leah, and today we're here with Amy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Wonderful. We're so glad that our audience is here with us, and we're so glad that you're here today with us as well. So tell me about you.
Oh, that's a big question.
Where do you come from?
Well, yes. I was born a poor black boy and or whatever that movie is. So I grew up mainly in the Detroit suburbs
Okay.
and with one sister and parents and Jewish family, which will become obvious later. Not observant,
Okay.
but culturally Jewish, you could say,
Okay.
you know. And went to school in that area,
Okay.
growing up there, and then escaped and went to college in Kalamazoo, about as far as I could get away for a while to kind of meet new people and start a new
Okay.
life.
Did you go to Western or K College or?
K College.
Okay.
I'm amazed you know that. Yeah, it's funny because I had a fair at my center yesterday, and a couple women came in and we started talking. It turns out that they were at K College around the same time I was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but a year later than me, so I didn't really know them. But anyway, it was very interesting to have
Okay.
that conversation. Yeah, I went to K College, came back, and within a year or two of graduating, I was able to get to Ann Arbor, and I've been here since 1983.
Okay. So that's been a long time. So there's a lot of changes in the area.
Yes, there have been.
What drew you to Ann Arbor?
Well, it started because I also got involved in the music business at the time.
Okay.
I was listening to a radio show on public radio, WDT, Radios in Motion. That he was doing punk and new wave music back when you couldn't hear it anywhere else.
Okay.
And I wrote him a letter, because this is before computers,
Okay.
saying that I liked it and I wanted to help volunteer. And then they had me come on board to help work with them, and I was calling concert venues and getting their lineup so we could report it on the radio. And through that, I met the concert promoters. And then when a job opened for a concert promoter in Ann Arbor, then I was able to move over here. So they're no longer in existence. They were called Prism Productions.
Okay.
So they did shows at what was the Second Chance bar. I'm blanking on the name right now. It's changed names, of course. On Liberty. It's been like known more as a gay bar.
Oh, the Ark.
No.
No?
No, the Ark is on a different location. Anyway.
Oh,
Yeah, now it's gonna bug.
or Tangerine.
I think you're on the right track.
Yeah,
it'll come to us.
Yeah. I know where you're talking.
But it was the Second Chance way back in the day, and also the Michigan Theater, so it's across from the Michigan Theater.
Right.
It used to be somewhere around there.
Right.
Yeah, and then they started doing bigger shows as well. So I've got stories from my music promoting days. Pretty crazy.
What was one of the biggest acts you came into contact with?
Well, David Bowie.
Ooh.
That was sad. Yeah, that's a whole story. We were partnering with another concert promoter who'd been doing bigger shows. And this was when he was in Detroit at Joe Louis Arena for like 2 nights, 3 nights, something like that. And I didn't even have to work that one. They gave me tickets. And then my boss came and got me and my friend at our seats and said, David Bowie is such a big star. He doesn't need to be doing this, but he's going to meet with the record label people real briefly and just thank them for promoting his record. Do you want to come? And we're like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we were able to do that. And I said I would never wash my hand again after shaking his hand. Which, yeah.
Of course you can't, but.
Yeah, but my knees were buckling. I mean, I'd been meeting, other bands, not maybe so big.
Right.
And wasn't fazed by it. But David Bowie, I was like, oh, my God.
Well, it was the mind. I mean, the brilliance of everything and how he could redevelop himself and come out as a different, say, character, whatever was in his brain, and he was able to bring that to fruition.
Oh, absolutely. He was so creative. And I didn't even like that album, but I tell you, was it on the Serious Moonlight tour?
Mhm.
But, just seeing him and the artistry of it, and when he met the group backstage, he already had his, like, stage makeup on,
Right.
and his hair wasn't blonde, it was, like, yellow. I mean, it was, like
Right.
and I remember thinking he was so skinny, he looked emaciated, and I thought he looked shorter than he actually was. I looked up later recently that he was pretty tall, but at the time I was thinking, "Oh, I'm almost eye to eye with this guy," but no. Yeah, so it
Well,
was
you probably felt you were like 9 feet tall just because of the meeting him,
no kidding.
just that could have been it.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That was have been
That was
amazing.
well, and just I might as well finish the story, because I didn't know where we were gonna go from here, but, I brought my friend with me. It was gonna be his birthday present, and, he so the instructions were when David Bowie comes in, he's gonna go down the row one at a time and shake your hand, and you tell him your name, and he'll thank you for promoting his album or whatever.
Right.
So he's doing that, going down. That he gets to me, I tell my name, and he said hi, and he thank you. And he gets to my friend, and instead of my friend saying his real name, which is David Ludwig, he said something ridiculous like Engelbert Flatzwasser or something. I mean, it was so obviously fake. And we're all nervous. I mean, even the record label people are nervous. And they used to be like this on the food chain. Like everybody looked up to them and they were cool.
Right.
Everybody was, and here comes my friend. And I was so
Oh
embarrassed.
my gosh.
And David Bowie pauses and he goes, "Hello, Engelbert. Nice to meet you." And kept going, and I was like, "I'm gonna sink through the floor. My bosses are probably gonna fire me now, and they're never gonna let me do this again." And it was
Oh my goodness.
yeah, and then Bowie was like, "Well, I must be going. I have a show to do." And
And
we
it
went
went
back
through
to
it.
our seats, and boom, he came right on stage right after that.
Oh, amazing. And he probably had heard that name on at least the first name, just being British, or English.
And I can't even remember what crazy name it was, but whatever it was,
Yes.
Bowie
But no, that's
paused.
so
Like
fun.
he knew it was a fake name. But in
Oh,
any
that's
case,
so much fun.
yeah, so
Sometimes you have to do something in the spur of the moment just to throw people off. But it's fun that way. So so now did you stay with music, or did you redefine yourself during that after that period or during that
oh,
period?
it's been yeah. Well, I did not, for a couple reasons. So when you're in the music business, as little bit as I was, and you think, oh, it's so exciting, and I'm going to meet some bands. I mean, I also met Robert Plant,
Hmm.
Led Zeppelin, and let
Apparently, he was a jovial person. I know my mister actually has a story about him
oh,
and a Halloween party in England. I think in like Swiss Village or something in an area where he lived, where my mister actually lived. That he appeared at a party
yeah.
there, and just very jovial, laid back, just very cool type people.
Yeah. He was very friendly. This was an after party. It was his first solo tour. And oh, my memory. I'm trying to think. What's the guy from he had a famous drummer, Phil Collins, who didn't want to be at the after party. He stuck his head in for a second. But we were, you know,
Hmm.
doing this after party thing, and to put it bluntly, what I remember is that he kind of hit on my boss's girlfriend, like in front of all of us. And
Okay.
he may or may not, I think he knew it was my boss. I mean, because he was introduced to him by my boss, and my boss had quite the temper, and he was just like smiling through his teeth, and I was like holding my
Trying to
breath, like,
keep his cool.
what the hell's gonna happen here,
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So there were some fun stories like that. But you also, as they say, you're not a civilian anymore, so you see like how the sausage is made,
Right. So it's
not
something
as
we literally
glamorous.
see and shiny.
Yeah, and because I hung out with other people in like a music writer, and we would go to other concerts and get backstage, and
Hmm.
I saw one of my idols, and then I didn't like his behavior, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of sorry I saw him backstage.
And I know people that don't read backstories on their artists that they like because they said if I know the real person, I probably wouldn't like their music or their style or whatever. So I just prefer not to know.
Well, that's an interesting point. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so this was during my favorite artist at the time, his period when he was still drinking and so on and so forth. So, there's lots of But you're in your mid-20s and you're like, oh, this is it. It's not as much as I thought. And
Right.
people are trying to get close to me who I think are trying to be friends, and they're like, oh, can you give us a backstage pass? And I'm like, yeah, you're
Right.
not my friend.
They're just using you at that point just to step up.
All of that. And then I got sick with the flu and I didn't have health insurance and they didn't want to pay me for my lost time. And then I was like, all right, now I'm going to be like, I heard a voice in my head, which over the years, this is now, I understand it's my intuition and I would say spirit guides and these things. So they were telling me I needed to get like a steady job, like apply at University of Michigan,
Right.
you know, this is what I just felt and knew. So I wound up doing that
Mm-hmm.
and I was there for like 24 some years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What did you do for the university?
So in different roles, different places, but I was a communications person.
Okay.
So copy editor and then, writing, editing websites, publicity, different things like that.
Nice. Now, did you do that for the university side or the hospital side? Or
I actually wound up working for both by the end of my tenancy there. Well, first I was at a math and physics publication. Then I got into at Central Campus, the Institute for Social Research had a data archive.
Mhm.
I was there for 10 years,
Oh, wow.
mainly because I made friends there too. And, you want to hang with the same people and all that.
Yeah.
And all of that.
When you spend more of your time at work than you do at home, you need to have good
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah, and you get to know them really well. You're with them so much.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that was really cool. And a couple other locations. So I was at the business school for a short time. I was at communications for HR. So it was yeah. And
But
then my last set was on the medical school campus. You could say there was a diabetes center
okay.
and an endocrinology, metabolism, diabetes department.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my last one.
Okay. So lots of different areas within, and that was all maintaining, like you said, the websites and communications and getting the publication information out there and making the public aware of whatever, or students aware or faculty aware, just whatever the need was at that moment.
Exactly. Oh, and I forgot the library system too, because we had a newsletter and trying to reach out to,
Right.
with all the different, there's like 14 university libraries. Some of them are small within each other.
Right.
And so,
That's
talking about the collections and the exhibitions. And so that was very interesting. So, yeah, different audiences that I've had to reach out to. Not so much the public. Most of the time it was like
just
internal within the university. So I learned a lot when I finally got out of the university. Well, even before that, I started my own business and had to start reaching out to the public and figuring out how to do that.
Right. So now let's talk about that. So now, were you overlapping starting your own business before you left the university? So something to go to as your next chapter?
Well,
or how
I
was
did
that?
not know that.
You didn't know. Okay.
No. In the 1990s, along the same time I started at the university, a friend dragged me to a metaphysical expo, and I met a psychic reader. And then I called her again about 3 months later and wanted another reading. And she said, by the way, I'm starting to teach classes in psychic development. And she didn't test me. She didn't say she knew I was psychic because I didn't think so. But I thought, oh, that sounds like fun because I'm going to be breaking up with this boyfriend and I'm going to have more free time,
Something to fill the gap.
Yeah, so I'll drive, 45 minutes over to, Royal Oak and take a class.
Why not?
Sounds interesting.
Right.
And so it was. So I took classes for years and then started doing readings. We do readings for each other and for friends and then just kind of built from there. So I so then I started doing readings. Was this in the early 2000s, in the aughts, I suppose you could say. I was doing readings at Crazy Wisdom Bookstore and Tea Room in downtown Ann Arbor on the side of my regular job.
Right.
And somebody came in there to have a reading and we hit it off. She was a young person who was in grad school She was in Ann Arbor for social work school, but she's also psychic intuitive. And she said, I would like to start a group for intuitives, a social group. And so would you like to do it with me? And I thought, well, okay, I've got a partner there. Can't be that much involved with this. So I was like, okay, sure. So we started, and we had, I can't even remember, I think Meetup was new then, and we promoted it on Meetup, and there weren't other metaphysical things on Meetup. I mean, we had like a lot of response right away.
Right.
So we went from once a month to twice a month. And within about 4 months, she dropped out, and it was my group. So this is how things have happened in my life. My friend dragged me to the Metaphysical Expo where I met the reader who became a teacher. And this one had me with her start a group, and then it became my group. And so that got me going. And then that was on the side of working at the university. So fast forward to 2014, I had to have open heart surgery to repair a valve.
Okay.
And I was off work for 8 weeks.
Okay.
And up until that point, I loved my job. I mean, my boss had left. Nobody replaced her. I was kind of like doing 2 jobs. I got a bit of a promotion, but I had a lot of autonomy, and I really loved what I was doing. But once I was on medical leave, something changed, and I just did not want to go back to work. And the night before I had to go back, I was even crying about it. I'm like, what is this, So that was June when I had to go back. A few months later, unbeknownst to me, the donor who was funding the diabetes center and my job pulled his money out, which never happens.
Okay.
When somebody donates money and it's in their name.
Right.
It's got their name on it. That's it.
Right.
For various reasons not related to me, he pulled it out. And he couldn't, so they can't take money out of the university completely, but he moved it to like medical school scholarships or something. So then I was going to be out of a job, and my department let me know a few months later because they had to figure things out. They didn't know what was going on either. So by early 2015, I was aware that I was going to be losing my job, and I had like the couple months of severance, or seniority. So and I was feeling like, oh, I don't want to look for another full-time job. I haven't done this in a long time.
Right.
I just don't know. And then I heard a voice saying, no, you start your own business now. And I'm like, yeah, I have a mortgage. I'm the only one, paying these things. How can I just go from, I've been doing this group on the side, but this is not making me money. And I got the voice saying, you can get a part-time job and then start the rest of what you want to do. Start building up. People have been asking me to teach, and I was like, no, I'm not going to teach intuition. Whatever. And, doing readings. And so right after that, one of the doctors came to me and said, oh, I'm sorry to hear you're losing your job, and I wish I could hire you. I just got a new grant, but it only has money for a part-time position. And I said, I'll take it. Of course, I still have to go through the application process and, posting it and being accepted and all that. But so I worked for her from, it was like April of 2015. And by September, I was too busy with my own work and I had to quit. So that was my launching pad,
It's amazing. And so now where did you practice, or where during that period? Before you opened up. Now, when did you open up the shop on Carpenter over here?
Well, that's another
continue,
synchronicity kind of thing.
Yes.
So we had been having this Sunday group still twice a month. And in that Sunday group, this is it. I mean, Spirit has me led by other people because on my own, I apparently do not pay attention. So, literally. So, this Sunday group had been going on for a couple of years, and then a couple of them said, oh, let's have like a psychic fair as a fundraiser for the group. And I was like, all right, well, I have no time, so you can plan it and just let me know what's going on.
Right.
And we'll do it. So they planned a little fair, and that went amazingly well. So then we planned a bigger one in a location that was twice the size. which was still small by my standards now. But and then that happened, and then that was successful. So like, oh, let's go even bigger. So then I had a committee because I was like, this is a lot of work. Oh, we'll help you. We'll take different roles and blah blah blah. So we started at hotels, renting a hotel for a day. Like instead of a wedding, it's a big room.
Right.
Blah 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 blah. And again, the way the universe sets things up can be so perfect. I had started doing events when I was at U of M. I didn't want to do them, and I would get mad about it, and I'd stomp around going, why am I organizing
The
it?
universe was teaching you.
Yes, exactly.
It was putting you in
I
training.
was learning best practices and
Yep.
all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And even though I'm not a communications person, I'd be sitting at my computer right now. So there was that. So we started these events, and they kept getting bigger and bigger. This, psychic expo, or it was a fair. We were still calling it. It was a 1-day fair. And at that point, I had somebody who was really good at helping me in the first little one. And so I said, do you want to keep helping me? And if we make any money, we'll get a little payment, that kind of thing. So I had my business partner for that. So it's 2013. So it was a couple years. We just started the fairs. And one of my friends said to me from the group, one of the people who know me that way, said, I feel like you're going to get well known, but not for your readings. And I was like, what? Like, insulted. Like, what kind of left-handed compliment is that? And she said, no, really, I don't know what it is, but something. Like, can you just close your eyes right now? Let's go into like a light meditative state and just ask and see what you get. I was like, okay, fine. Did that. And I saw myself running a center.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I went home that night and did a longer meditation and took some notes. And actually, Spirit showed it to me as a big building, like a former school building.
Mm-hmm.
And it had, the different components where there's like an auditorium cafeteria thing for big events and gift shop. And there were little offices for different practitioners, like readers and healers around lobbies that they said it was called a pod. And I was like, pod? I don't know. It's pods of dolphins. I don't know what that means. And then my friend said she worked in the Chelsea or Dexter schools, and they called that setup in their schools as pods, which I never heard before. And so I thought, okay, this is interesting. We'll just see if this ever happens. It's
right.
Supposed to happen. So this is 2013. In the fall, I mentioned this to my now business partner for the fairs, and she said, oh, this makes so much sense. She said she had a dream where she saw a building, and she didn't understand what this building was. And in her dream, they said Autumn. Well, Autumn was the name of one of her daughters, actually. So she thought, is this a school my daughter's going to go to when she gets old enough or what? But it was actually autumn meaning fall. Like that's when she found out, is when I happened to tell her, yeah, I did this meditation and got this information, So at first we were like, oh, we got to look for a school building. And I was like, I don't know. How do you pay for this? How does it happen? What's going to happen? I was still working at U of M at the time. So it took a little while. But when I lost my job at U of M in 2015 and started my own business and then wound up leaving the part-time job at the end of 2015, then at the end of 2015, the place where we were renting 2 Sundays a month, they were leaving their office. They were magically leaving breaking their lease.
Okay.
Again, how often does that happen? I don't know. And so my business partner said we could take over their lease and just be in there because the energy's good, and that could be the start of our center. So it was a small,
right.
It wasn't a huge school building, but you're starting smaller and it made sense. So we started there in 2016. And other people I said it to would also say, oh, yeah, I see, I've been thinking this or feeling this or seeing this in meditation, like some kind of center thing. And a lot of people said it, but they weren't supposed to get involved, apparently. They were just like,
receiving the information for you.
Giving it back to me from the universe.
Thing. Here's your confirmations. We know what you're supposed to be doing, but we can't help you.
Right. We can give you that confirmation. Exactly. So I was like, all right, it's in the air. I guess it's going to happen.
There we are. So now, how long has it been then? Have you been where you're at now?
Well, now we're in a place that's double the size and more visible. So October will be 4 years
Mm.
already. I guess hard to believe. It'll be the end of 4 years in
Right.
our fourth year. Yeah. So I'd been with them yeah, in that small office location. It was over 5 years because we did a couple leases. And then at the end, I just did month to month because I knew I needed a bigger place
Hmm.
and I needed to be open regular hours. That's the thing. We were not open regular hours.
Hmm.
We were, the rent there was super cheap. And we had a couple smaller rooms and a couple bigger rooms, and we rented them for like classes and events. So I only had to go in for a class or event. And even then, there was a keypad lock on the door. People could go in without me being there. So, and was teaching classes by then, so I could do that and then work on these big expos. So we started, from the hotel, we got really big,
Hmm.
which is coming full circle again, because that's how I started when my friend first dragged me to one in the 90s. And I met the woman who became my teacher for psychic development.
Hmm.
And then I was now putting these things on.
Yes.
I mean, huge. The last one we did a couple times. People in this area tend to remember that one at Skyline High School.
I remember that one. I was there. Yeah. I
See?
went to that one.
There you go.
Yep. I saw, can't remember. I can't remember. There's two different ones. Actually, Spencer for the birth charts.
Oh, yeah. Spencer Michaud,
Yep.
astrologer.
And, gosh, I can't remember. She had dark hair and glasses.
What was it?
She was a medium.
Oh,
Oh, can't remember her name.
glasses.
Um,
Cindy Rogers?
yeah, it may have been Cindy. Yeah, and I think there was another woman there that I spoke with too briefly. But yeah, I remember going to that one. That was a good one.
Awesome.
That was a really good one.
Yeah, we had really hit our stride by then because we were doing 2 a year. So starting in 2013 with the tiny ones,
Mm-hmm.
and then the hotels in 2014. In 2015, we were at the Washtenaw Community College Morris Lawrence building.
Mm-hmm.
And my wonderful business partner said, we should go to 2 days because vendors who are selling things would rather have a second day. They don't have to take everything out that night.
Yes.
They've got an extra, and other big shows in other cities do this. And so Washtenaw, we couldn't get Sundays with them.
Okay.
So then we had to look elsewhere. We were at Eastern Michigan University's Student Union
Mhm.
building. It was like a big convention
Yeah,
hall.
the beautiful building.
Yeah, we were doing lectures and,
Mhm.
and all kinds of, I think of all the work now, but we were able to do the work
Yes.
because the center was not open regular hours. So
Right.
I worked mostly on the expos.
Yes.
And Christina, same thing. My business partner, she had time to work on it. She was homeschooling her kids, but her husband worked. She didn't have a job other than what we were doing,
Right. Right.
So we had time to do all this.
Yes. And
Mm.
now you're full-time open, plus still doing once a week or one weekend a month, correct?
Well, fairs, we
Yes.
do 2 little fairs at the building.
Okay.
So it's not, twice a month. So it's not a big deal compared to the huge ones I used to do.
But it still attracts new people to come in that might not normally walk in the door or feel comfortable enough to walk through the door during the week.
Yeah, or they're not available or they're not aware. And yes, exactly. So we're getting a lot of new people, and I keep statistics when they walk in, we have them register and so on.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a good fair yesterday. We had a good turnout. So even though it's in this small location, that's my business home.
Yes.
And occasionally somebody will say, when are you going to do a big one again? Can you do a big one? I'm like, no, I'd have to clone myself because there's just no way.
Right.
Or
form a committee again and get multiple people on board. But it's hard to get all of the same people on the same page, too. Everyone has their own idea of something. So it's too many chiefs.
You're evil trying to put this idea out.
You're like, no, I'm just saying.
Oh, you're so funny. Well, the committee idea was necessary, but it was necessary anyway as we kept moving forward. And
yes,
I just don't know.
I think you know what it is. I think that there is a opening to bring in the other types of spiritual and metaphysical ideas, where people might be scared to ask questions about it, or might be not because of other religious restrictions, certain, obviously the Bible, says things or whatnot. So they're like, oh, it goes against. And it's like, well, okay, I was baptized, whatever, we're good, and I have my relationship with God. And then I also have my relationship with the universe, and I blend everything to works well for me. And I call it floating.
Oh, I like that.
Just because I let whatever happen. And then how this, you and me sitting down here came to play was because one of the healers that you work with, who will also be a guest and will be able to talk about what she does. And because she actually was doing healing with me. So we actually get to talk about what she did with me and describe that too. But she planted different seeds with some things that she said. And that's why I called you. And so that's how we ended up on the phone. And then you were intrigued because of my other profession. And I said, hey, sit down. And now you're like, oh, I feel obligated to do this. So here we sit today. But I have been into your shop on several occasions. In fact, I told the listening audience last August when I went in, I actually went to see Kathy Marie. It was during one of your open house expos, and they, like I said, I went to see Kathy Marie. She felt me coming before I got there.
Oh,
And I had to have a battle with well, it wasn't even a battle. I had to find out the truth with my dad. I had found, a drug paraphernalia after when I was cleaning out his house after he died. And there was a lot of there were secrets behind it. And so I needed to settle that. And so it worked for me. And I'm okay with it. I'm not holding anger against my dad. I'm not holding the what ifs. I was able to make my peace with it. We're good. It's over. We move forward. And I think that if we can teach people to open their ears and their hearts and their minds, that there are these whispers going on around them, that these spirits are still here guiding us, and that there are certain things, and not to be afraid of what you do, or what you offer.
absolutely not. No,
You know what I mean?
and we've talked before, not on this broadcast, but about if people have had an experience of somebody passing. This happened yesterday. So people will come to the fair sometimes and they're curious and they have no idea. They've never had a reading. They're not even sure why they're there, but they're drawn there. This one guy said, I don't know if I believe any of this stuff, but my dad passed away. And he said, I've had a picture knocked off the dresser and then something else happened. And I said, well, that's your dad. And he was like, well, I don't know. And I was like, yeah, you're going to talk to one of these mediums here and they're going to give you some information that, is coming from spirit. Because he was a scientist, an engineer. Well, we have engineers who do. One of my favorite students is an engineer, Ford, and my first Reiki teacher was a former engineer. I mean, that doesn't you can use left and right brain, and the one of the laws of physics is matter is neither created nor destroyed; it just changes forms. And I said that to him. I was like, What do you think happens when we die? Spirit is still
Right.
Your dad's still around at some level.
Right.
So I didn't get to follow up with him after the reading, but he did stay quite a while and he did have a reading. Yeah, I still could probably follow up with him. But I mean, these kinds of things, when people have that experience, and many, many people do, but they just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
They're like, I feel like my dad's around me, but I don't want people to think I'm crazy. Well, you know what? That is very, very common. It's like one of the gateway things that opens people up, either that or a medical challenge. They come out feeling completely different, even if it's not a near-death experience. That can also cause people to awaken. Yeah,
I think a lot of that happens too. Now, what happened? You said you would, as you were saying, you're going through from music, the transition to getting the steady income with insurance, and then of course, then saying, well, this is your opportunity to open up your own business. And then going back to, no, I still have to have income. Oh, well, here's your part-time job. Just, I have it right here for you, so it's just everything was lined up to allow you to get to this point. When you started hearing that intuition, or the voice, that's the guidance and things from your spirit guides, what was your first one what was the first time or like when you heard something like that? And then what was your first reaction to it? And then how did you develop that?
All right. Well, we're going to go way back then. I mean, I wouldn't say I was a psychic child. Like, I teach intuition development, by the way, now. I'll
Right.
teach like 4 nights a week, different levels of 8-week classes. And that's another amazing way to get people in and involved, and they meet each other and become like a community or a tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I started when I was in high school. Like I was just saying, my father passed away when I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
And I started having dreams about him, which is another way spirit communicates with us. Why? Because our conscious mind is shut off,
Right.
and we're able to, or right before sleep or right when we come out of sleep. So I had dreams that he was alive. And I remembered in the last dream, I was crying and saying to him, "You don't belong here. You're dead. You need to leave." And I woke myself up crying. And then I didn't dream about him anymore
Mm-hmm.
because he stopped coming because it upset me and scared me
Okay.
at some level, you know.
Okay.
Um, but on the other hand, when he passed away, I got to meet and get to know his brother in New York, who as kids, we never really knew them at all.
Okay.
And his brother, my uncle Jerry, I say my gay uncle Jerry because he was crazy, crazy gay Uncle Jerry. He would love that title, I'm sure. He's listening right now. But he was into metaphysics, and he's the one who first recommended a book to me. And I had my first reading when I visited him in New York, and he sent me to Greenwich Village to see this woman who did my astrology. And,
Okay.
so out of that came more the start of exploration. But then I went to college and just kind of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, lost that stuff for a while. Um, and I would visit. I had a good friend who started at K College and then transferred to Ann Arbor, and I would come visit her. And I really loved Ann Arbor, and I wanted to keep like looking around and hanging out there. And a voice in my head said, "Oh, you'll be back. You'll be back." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna get to know Ann Arbor later, I guess," which I did.
Right.
Wind up getting a job here, you know.
Yeah.
So those are just a couple of the things. But again, when people pass away often, it's an opening, it's a beginning
Mm-hmm.
for us to realize there's more. Because like I said in the beginning, I was raised by a non-observant Jews, cultural Jews.
Right.
My dad said he was an atheist, and my mom said she was agnostic. And I was like, "What's that?" And, nothing. So
Mm.
I didn't grow up with anything.
Yeah, my dad wasn't quite religious. He converted to marry my mother, but my mom, I mean, she was born and raised and in parochial school through 8th grade and then public through high school, but when I was born, my brother was ill, so there wasn't the concentration on religion. It was chronic illness that you knew was going to lead to death. So it was like, yeah, I'm fine with the fact that they focused their energy on him and not me. Because I was able to be open to other forms of spirituality and faith and understand from a very young age all of the different facets and not just one religion.
Wow.
So I like that.
Yeah.
Just being able to be open to anything.
Yeah, which I guess you could say I was too, although really not that much until I went to that first expo that my friend dragged me to in the 90s and then met Shayla Kilmer, who became my psychic development teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got exposed to a religion called spiritualism.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the new thought religions that started in the late 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still spiritualist churches today. In fact, I'm going to be speaking at one, the one in Ferndale, Center of Enlightenment, on August 10th. I think that Sunday is. So, yeah, this stuff is real. We just aren't always exposed to it.
Yes.
And
I think that some people do try to block it out to a certain extent, because there are some people that are so devout in whatever religious demographic they are that they want to exclude and say that's the work of whatever, when you talk about the metaphysical side and things like that. But I think that there's so much room for all of this because even the people that don't believe in spirits, when you start to mention things like the flicker of a light when you're talking to it and them responding back to you and 75-year-old man running out of the door about to burst into tears that his wife he lost 6 months ago. And it's like, I changed that damn bulb. I said, I know you did, but she didn't let it stop, did she? He's like, and he left. And so it's like, how do you explain to people that that's them? It's okay. There was an interview with Steve Gutenberg. He was with the Palisade fires. He was actually trying to help people get cars out of the way when they were trying to evacuate the area. And so somebody had interviewed him on, I think it was Lisa Ling had interviewed him on Sunday morning. I always watch that show. And he was talking about his father, Stanley. And he said he talked to his dad every single day, but he still talks to his dad every single day because he knows Stanley's around him. And so that was significant because there's so many people that don't talk about that. They need to talk about, yeah, they're still here. It's just say hi. Good morning. We're here.
Yeah.
Hey, it's okay. I know you're here. You're guiding me. You're watching me. You're protecting me. And going on from there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
at our center, we do have people. So I teach classes. It's a big function now of getting new people in. And we do have what I call like recovering Catholics, or they will say it. They will say it, where they were schooled religiously and they can't tell a lot of their family that they're taking these classes because they'll still think that they're of the devil. But you know what? If you read the Bible, there's lots of things in there. Oh, an oracle told me this. I saw this spirit on the road. I had a vision. I had an angel come. That's all part of it.
Still the same.
But we act like, oh, well, that can only happen to those anointed people or these back in the day, and not now. And
it can't be everyday people or, in certain things. And it's not. It is everyday people.
Yes,
and
it is.
And I think everybody has intuition. They just have to be willing to open it up and see it or hear it or feel it or, whatever it is.
Everybody. In my classes, I've had people 19 years old, right, going into college up to in their 70s, men, women, bi, trans, you name it, non-binary, all types of people.
Right.
And we all had
humans.
And it's funny because this morning I was reading something about from a security thing on a website because I'm dealing with identity theft right now and I'm going through stuff. And this one website, was it Yahoo? Like for my email, where it's when they're going down the list of like things that you should check on for security, and they start out with trust your gut. If you feel, that something's not right, change your password. And I'm like, I'm printing this to tell my class.
Yes.
Yes. Here's, a very well-known company saying trust your gut.
I know, right? Well, The Gift of Fear is a book that I always promote to everybody. It's Gavin DeBecker, and he was a security specialist, but it's the fear intuition. Is what he tries to teach, is to trust your gut. If you're not comfortable in a situation, if you don't trust the person you're standing next to because something in your gut is telling you, trust what you're feeling and walk away. Trust what you're in, protect yourself. It's like, it's the preserving your life, your livelihood, and you. And it's just, but his is the fear factor. And he talks about just, especially for women. I'm so big about that book. Another client who's in the security side of things actually had recommended it to me, and any chance I have, I've always recommended it to somebody else, just because it's a good read, especially for women, because we're taught to teach or to be nice to people, always be polite and always smile. But there's been a few times where I've had some very uncomfortable situations in my tax office, and you just kind of keep the peace and hold the calm and just wait for the person to exit. The last time it happened, it was just somebody that wasn't fully there. Probably, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to diagnose, but the calming factor of the person sitting there was like kind of rubbing their forehead. And so, something wasn't going on. So I just did the taxes and said thank you and told them to leave. I didn't even ask for payment because I just wanted them to leave. So that was the easiest thing for me to do. And other people were in the office and aware of the tense situation, including Alexis. And, so it's a very uncomfortable time sometimes, but you do feel those intuition things, you just have to tiptoe sometimes and work your way around it to protect yourself.
Yeah, I should write that book down and share it with some
I
students who
shall.
may want to understand better because we all have it. And I like to say the body doesn't lie. You get a gut feeling. It's not like you were thinking, how do I feel about this person? Oh, I'm going to feel
No,
bad down here.
physical.
Just like,
Yeah.
and you may not understand it, but that you still should pay attention. You can understand it later. And all of us have stories about, I had this sign or I had this thought and I didn't honor it. And then I was sorry I didn't, and it's related to minor things. Or there's stories about I did listen to it. Like I paused instead of starting when the light turned green and then somebody, came through,
Yeah, as simple as that. Right, because, people, and that's the thing, we talk about synchronicities and those universe whispers and those connections, but even those universe whispers can be, unfortunately, when all of those things have to align, it's not always good. Sometimes bad events happen, but it takes all of those non-cause and effect type situations where all of those puzzle pieces come together at once to make a perfect scenario. So sometimes they do turn out as bad events, as we can see in some horrific accidents and things like that. But it's just, I think that if people open their minds more and embrace what we have to offer, what you have to offer, especially. Now, where can people find you or any other practitioner? Where's your shop located at?
So the Enlightened Soul Center and Shop is 2711 Carpenter Road in Ann Arbor. So it's between Washington and here Packard, I should say. And we have our own building that we rent separate from anybody else. We also have a website, enlightenedsoulcenter.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. I'm trying to gear up to get on TikTok. We'll see how that goes.
We're working on that too. I went from a non-social media existence to having a podcast. So I am building from scratch. I was always the wallflower behind the scenes, spy on people, and now, yeah.
I don't even have your name.
I didn't even have my name. Exactly. I opened up my Facebook page in 2009, but it had Marie Kalashewski, which is my middle name and my extended last name before my grandfather shortened it. So you really had to know me.
And
a month ago, yes. And a month ago, I actually changed it.
Oh my God, look at you.
Yeah, so I was well hidden for a very long time. So I'm now putting myself out there, surrendering, as I've said, and put myself out there and let the universe take over and say, okay, let's see where this takes us. So one of the questions that I do always ask everybody that sits on the couch here is about their personal anthem. So this is the song that speaks to you. What song do you just put on, before you go in and teach a class, or do you, wherever you need to pump yourself up just to achieve something? What's the song? What's your go-to song?
Boy, I guess I should be doing this. I don't know. Just what? Well, I will say it's funny because before I came here, I was in a shoe store and a Sheryl Crow song came on. And that wouldn't be her particular, that's not the song that I would say because it's it's like about broken love. I can't even remember the name of it at the moment, but some kind of Sheryl Crow song. Well, also, I will say when I was going through a tough time at one of my jobs, there was a Tom Petty song, I Won't Back Down.
Yeah.
And I played the hell out of
that song. That's a good.
Yeah, I won't. That could be one of the anthems.
Yeah, I like Tom Petty. That's a good one. But also the Sheryl Crow. I like that. What is the song where she talks about the people at the car wash? Yeah, at the bar with Billy and burning matches down to his fingertips. I like that song. It's a good one.
So well written, because I'm a word person essentially, and so the picture she paints with just a few sentences. Yeah, I'm sure it completely happened. Or she saw it, somebody, or
no, it's I lyrics are everything when it comes to music, but I Won't Back Down is a very good anthem, I think, because that just shows that perseverance, just moving forward. Even if there's something that gets in your way, you can say, no, that obstacle is not going to stop me. Thank you again for joining us on this week's episode of Life Between Coasts. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to grow our community of listeners. We'd like to thank Amy for joining us this week, and we hope you have a great week. And until then, bye bye.